Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahawashi, Bahasham, Barakahak Wadash, Barakatum. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, glory, and infinite honors to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahawashi. Double honors to the apostles and elders, a great millstone who rule and teach well. In peace and salutations to you sincere Akim out there, pushing this word and truth and sincerity to the four corners of the globe. May you brothers endure until the end. This is the brother Ra'aya with another video. And in this video, I'll be profiling an article on RT.com titled Brits Stealing Meat, Sweets, and Booze Amid Cost of Living Crisis. Survey says shoplifting is at its highest level in a decade, data shows. And things like this are only going to continue, not just in the United States of America, but as we're about to read about in this article, in Britain, in Europe, and a lot of these countries globally, because this current economic system that you know of is about to collapse. There's going to be inflation and hyperinflation, mass job losses, rioting, everything you can think of, because the elites are getting ready to bring in a new system, a new order, so to speak, which is going to be based on those CBDCs, those central bank digital currencies. We're going into a digital, cashless society to where if you want to be a part of this system, you got to be on the grid. And the main thing you're going to need to be attached to this coming system is going to be that charagma in Revelation chapter 13, verses 16 to 17, the MARKOFTHEBEAST, which is that RFID/NFC MICROCHIPIMPLANT. And instances of looting, rioting, just, job losses, foreclosures, just chaos in these different countries is exactly what the elites want, because that'll enable them to just bring in this system that much more quickly. But let's get into this article. The UK's cost of living crisis is fueling a surge in shoplifting, according to a report published on Thursday by the British Association of Convenience Stores, ACS. ACS data showed that more than 1.1 million incidents of theft were recorded at stores across the country over the past year, the highest level in a decade, and up from 970,000 the year before. The most commonly stolen items were meat, alcohol, and sweets, which are typically considered high-value items that can be resold, or hey, just people collecting those items because they're desperate out here, don't have the money to afford them. And over here in the United States of America, in particular places, things have gotten so bad with meat shoplifting that particular Walmarts put like a little cage around the packet of meat with a sensor on it. So if you try to leave the store without it, that sensor's going to go off. James Lohman, chief executive of ACS, said the level of that happening daily were unprecedented. Repeat offenders known to the community and known to police are stealing without fear of reproach. And that's another thing that's coming. Lawlessness out here. Not enough police on the police force, and police just being demoralized from all these calls for defunding the police, or the police being looked at as public enemy number one, so they're leaving the force. So what does that lead to? A vicious cycle of laws not being enforced, and criminals or just desperate people out here who have turned into criminals, disregarding the laws and getting it how they live out here. This is Matthew chapter 24, verse 12. And because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. And when we go to that word iniquity in the Strong's, it's G458.
Strong's G458, Anamia.
And when we go to the outline of biblical usage, it says the condition of without law, because ignorant of it, because of violating it. People not giving a damn about the law because they see that there are no repercussions to it. Again, not enough police on the force, or police leaving the force in mass numbers because it's just no longer conducive to do that job. Contempt and violation of law, iniquity, wickedness. So again, and because iniquity Or lawlessness shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. People are going to get more and more in that selfish and especially dog-eat-dog spirit out here as the situation continues to deteriorate. Inflation and hyperinflation, people losing their jobs, losing their homes, store shelves getting emptier, and then not being able to afford what's left. And hey, food is the greatest motivator out there for people to do any goddamn thing, especially when they see their children's stomachs touching their backs. ACS, which represents small stores across Britain, estimated that shoplifting has cost retailers 125 million, and that may be the little money symbol for the British pound. 125 British pounds, or 159 million US dollars over the past year, which is about 2,574 pounds per store. Some retailers noted that theft rates were partly affected by an increase in gang activity and people with addictions stealing to fund their drug or alcohol habits, and because iniquity or lawlessness shall abound. However, 79% of those surveyed said they believe that the cost of living crisis is the main driver behind the surge in theft, as a growing number of people are struggling to afford basic items while prices continue to rise. That's also a part of biblical prophecy. These prices out here rising to where things become damn near affordable or just completely affordable, which what leads to shoplifting, criminal activity. This is Revelation chapter 6. I'm going to start at verse 5. And this is dealing with the so-called 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, which are just different prophetic signs and events that would take place during these last times that we're living in. And when he had opened the 3rd seal, I heard the 3rd beast say, "Come and see." And I beheld, lo, a black horse, and he that sat on him had a pair of balances in his hand. And I heard a voice in the midst of the 4 beasts say, "A measure of wheat for a penny, and 3 measures of barley for a penny. And see thou hurt not the oil and the wine." And back in the ancient days, wheat and barley were used to do what? Make a lot of food products that people would consume. But when we go into that word penny in the Strongs, it's G 1220.
Strong's G 1220. Denarion. Denarion.
Denarion. And it reads denarius equals containing 10, a Roman silver coin in New Testament times. It took its name from it being equal to 10 asses, which were bronze and then later copper coins in the Roman Empire. So 10 of those copper coins would equal 1 silver coin denarius. A number after 217 BC increased to 16, about 3.898 grams or 0.1375 ounces. It was the principal silver coin of the Roman Empire. From the parable of the laborers in the vineyard, it would seem that a denarius was then the ordinary pay for a day's wages. And hey, in the ancient world and according to the scriptures, a man is supposed to be paid for all the work he does in a single day. But in this wicked modern society we live in under Esau Edom, the so-called white man, the majority of people get what? Paid every 2 weeks. So think about it like this: a measure of wheat, a measure of barley for a penny. So as inflation and hyperinflation increases, it's going to cost more to buy stuff. So it's going to get so bad to where, say, whatever your minimum wage is, you get paid every 2 weeks and you get what, like $500 to $600. You're going to have to be using damn near that entire paycheck just to buy 1 meal, a couple of loaves of bread, a couple of jugs of milk, maybe even 1 jug of milk. Just completely unaffordable out here. Hence, what? However, 79% of those surveyed said they believe that the cost of living crisis is the main driver behind the surge in theft, as growing numbers of people are struggling to afford basic items while prices continue to rise. A measure of wheat for a penny, 3 measures of barley for a penny. The report by ACS came after official figures released on Wednesday showed that UK inflation in May stood at 8.7%. That was unchanged since April, when it fell to single digits for the first time since last summer. What's this other article say? UK breweries going bust, says report. And so it's not just people in the US getting their ass kicked. People are getting their ass kicked in the UK. Best believe in Europe as well. Salakia. Grocery price inflation dropped from a 45-year high of 19.1% in April to 18.3% last month, although the cost of food itself in UK stores still rose 0.9% in May alone, according to the recent forecast from the Paris-based Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, OECD. The UK will have one of the highest inflation rates of any major developed economy this year, point blank period. These economies globally, especially in the so-called Western world, they are on the verge of collapse, and it's only going to get much worse with each passing day. And as these elites get closer and closer to rolling out those digital currencies, which a lot of these major so-called developed Western countries are already running pilot programs for. In the US, next month, what are they going to roll out? FedNow, which is going to simplify cross-payment platforms, which the next step to add to those are CBDCs. And then the next step is to bring what? Further chaos and economic collide in these societies so they can bring in a state of martial law and be justified in further rolling out this system, fast-tracking it and fast-tracking the rollout and mandatory implementation of that charagma. But in between here and there, expect to see more shoplifting, more crime. And once those store shelves get empty, what do you think you're going to see? People start going into each other's homes, taking what they can get their hands on. Now I'm going to close it out in 2nd Esdras in the Apocrypha, chapter 15, verse 19. A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, and the love of many waxing cold. Best friends fighting against each other, so-called good neighbors fighting against each other, even family members fighting against each other, but shall destroy their houses with the sword. And in the United States of America, that modern day sword is that gun. And people are going to be using whatever they can get their hands on. Literal swords, knives, sticks, bats, Molotov cocktails, chains, brass knuckles, that baseball bat with barbed wire wrapped around it, you name it. But shall destroy their houses with the sword and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread, food shortages, famines, which are also a part of biblical prophecy. What is saying the header? The third seal, famine, because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation, hyperinflation, cost of living crises, people losing their jobs, a state of anarchy out here, etc., etc. So that's it with this lesson. And with this lesson, I hope you sincere Akim and Akwath were edified. Just keep strong. We are almost out of this final wicked captivity of the heathen nations, chiefly of the Edomites. And as always, I'm going to say Abad Babal, Kwam Yasharala, and until next time, Shalom.